Hello, 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 and welcome back to this week's episode of Rhetoric with Shakia. I'm Shakia, and in this episode, we are going to talk about Love Island USA Season 8. At this point, we are 10 episodes in. There are not 10 videos about this on my channel, and here's why. I lied. What was the lie? Well, in my very first episode about Love Island USA Season 8, I said that I was locked in. That is, in fact, a lie. I cannot bring myself to get locked in to this particular season. I am trying, but we have lost something. We have lost something with this show. It is just dragging, okay? It's dragging. I do not have a favorite couple. I do not have Trinity is pretty funny. Trinity is pretty funny. She is an experienced one, okay? Trinity, ma'am. Ooh, sometimes I'm just like clutching my pearls, but that's just me. No tea, no shade to her. But overall, I just can't get into it. It feels overly manufactured, edited. Like, it's just not great. It's not great. And the editing is so choppy. Obviously, it is a show. We know that edits will take place because they have to create a show. And they, being the producers and the network, all of that, they are putting a show together and they need entertainment. And in doing so, the plot has been lost. It has been lost. And when I say that, I mean, what was the intention of the show from the beginning? Yes, if it is a show, it is meant to entertain, but also part of this show, part of the experience is that these young, pretty people are supposed to find love. Now, do I think they're necessarily going to find love? No, but it could be cute to watch them fall in like with each other. You know, a respectful little lust after each other. Lust sounds weird, but a respectful infatuation with each other. It's so overly produced. And this is what I was getting at. You can watch an episode and you can clearly tell that we are missing key parts of the storyline. And I don't like it because the story that they're trying to create, it's not even an entertaining story. We spent how many episodes talking about Melanie and Sincere, or watching rather Melanie and Sincere and their chaos in the villa. We didn't need all of the focus to be on them for so long because there are other things that we're developing. And maybe from the stance of production, or maybe from production's point of view, the things that we're developing with the other couples perhaps wasn't as entertaining because it wasn't as dramatic. But you got to give us something, production. You got to meet us in the middle somewhere. Give us the story. You want to add a little drama? Sure, because we're humans and sometimes we like to be entertained with the foolishness. Okay, cool. But also let us see the conversations. Let us see more of the conversations with the islanders, with the couples. And then when y'all do show us the conversations, just like what you did with this most recent episode, you showed us the conversation of Anaya and KC, clearly, heavily because you see when they're in soul ties and they're talking, and you can see that there's a misunderstanding, but there's a chance for them to get on the same page. But we end up seeing Anaya get up. She says, I'm over this. She walks away. Later in the episode, we know that at some point they made up. How do we know that? Because if you pay attention, and this is unfortunate, but when you watch this show, it's like you gotta be a freaking investigator. You have to pay attention to what is happening in the background. You have to. And because a lot of us are, I'll just speak for myself. I'm paying attention to what is happening in the background. You can tell the messy edits that's going on. Anyway, so at the end of episode 10, we can see that Anaya and KC made up. They're sitting together. They're kikiing. They're sitting close. They're kikiing. And then it's another islander. I think it might be Corbin, but it's definitely a male islander who at some point is near Anaya and KC. Everybody's just talking. They're having a little key. But we never got to see the rest of the conversation with Anaya and KC. Why? Because a particular narrative is being painted. And so it's going to be interesting to watch this couple play out. Here's what I have been thinking, and I saw a few people post this on social media that they need to bring in more bombshells. And yes, and here's the thing. Don't just bring in bombshells haphazardly. Bring in the bombshells who specifically have an interest in Anaya, who specifically have an interest in Trinity. And I do think so. And I don't think I made a video about this particular part. I know that Soul is coupled up with Sincere, but I think Soul was for KC. Do you remember how much red he had on him during that giant bed challenge? I think Soul was sent in for KC. Do you agree with that? Anyway, but the way it played out is that Soul ended up being part of this love triangle with Sincere and Melanie. And you can tell that there was some mean girl behavior, and I hate to use that term because I know how it was thrown around about some people last season. But nonetheless, I think there was some mean girl behavior happening in the villa towards Soul. And I am not a Soul survivor. Like, I'm not here to defend Soul or any of them, but I'm not here to defend Soul. But clearly there was something going on in the villa, because when there was that pie challenge and Soul got really upset, I'm almost certain that they cut out that scene. So we don't know how many pies Soul got to the face. We don't know. But clearly it was enough to make her upset. And what Bea said in After Sun, she actually said it when she was on the show. And then we know Bea got dumped from the island. She appeared on After Sun. And what Bea said was that most of those pies that they gave that they gave Soul should have been for Melanie. And when Bea said that, people called her a hater. People called Bea a mean girl. People were calling Bea a mean girl even when she was in the villa. I don't think she was a mean girl. I think Bea is very direct. Now, listen, we're all human, so sometimes we make mistakes, and sometimes our delivery isn't the best. But what it comes down to is the person open to feedback. I think Bea was, because I believe it was Bea and Trinity who had a conversation, and Trinity was like, now listen, girl. Hold up, right? Bea was open to that. I don't think Bea was a mean girl. I think Bea was direct, and I think she was getting annoyed by Melanie's antics. Now, could there be something that Melanie's behavior and presence was bringing up for Bea? Sure, but I'm not going that deep. What I see is there was somebody, for lack of a better word, acting out Melanie because she didn't like how things were playing out with her and Sincere. And she's human. She has feelings. I get that. Bea was calling her out on some stuff. And to be clear, I know that their main disagreement, their main argument was about Corbin when Corbin first came in. Listen, they had a conversation about that. Maybe Bea should not have taken charge in which Islander was going to talk to Corbin first. Okay, cool. But I've just been seeing a lot of discourse about how Bea is the mean girl, and she was this mean girl toward Melanie. I think she was holding Melanie accountable. I think a lot of people are not holding Melanie accountable. I think they're not holding Kenzie accountable. Kenzie, in this last episode, how she disrespected Corbin's boundaries. Mr. Can I get a kiss? The time he finally says, like, yo, I don't think that's a good idea. Even though I want to kiss you, I want to respect the couple that I'm in. I want us to respect our couples. She turned that shit. She was so manipulative, and people like her are dangerous. But that's a conversation for another day. Anyway, she flipped it. She turned it. She was so manipulative. And she was like, oh, so clearly you care more about her and you care more about her feelings, and you don't want to give me a kiss? Like, I don't understand why you don't want to give me a kiss. If you don't want to give me a kiss, that means you don't want to be with me. And so then, of course, then what does he do? He kisses her. He gives in. And then what does she do? She says, well, let's keep this between us. If that's not some scandalous behavior, scandalous, disrespectful, dangerous behavior when we zoom out and we look at it on a macro level. But we're not going to do that in this video because I'm trying to keep it cute and light and fun about Love Island, about these young people who go on this dating show to hopefully find love and maybe win some money, and we get to watch them and these cute, silly challenges. We have missed the plot. They're not going out on dates. The challenges suck. It's just about swap and spit. They're not really learning about each other. They're just being messy. Now, here's what needs to happen, because nobody asked me. I don't care. But here's what I feel needs to happen. Love Island USA, I think they should model. Hear me out. This might be a little radical for the producers. They should model Love Island UK. Now, Love Island UK, they have their own issues. I'm not fully caught up on this season, on season 13 yet, because I'm watching it on Hulu. So, we get the episodes a little later. I'm a little behind. However, Love Island UK, they still need to work on their diversity. I am so sick of all these fucking shows who bring on Black women and then they get treated a particular way. They get a particular type of edit. And then these men are not checking for them, which is crazy because so many of these women are fucking gorgeous. But again, I'm trying not to digress. Anyway, Love Island UK, they need to also work on their race and diversity situation going on. If you're going to have Black women specifically Black women in the villa, let's make sure we have men who are interested in Black women and not just interested in them because, for purely sexual reasons. Love Island USA. Miss Kinsey is in lust with Corbin. The way she's going about it, that let's kiss and keep her secret. Oh my God. Anyway. So outside of the diversity issue with Love Island UK, the format of that franchise is so much better. They had a dumping from the villa early on, but then they put a little spin to it and they had the two islanders go off. They got to go on dates with people. Then they got to come back to the villa. And then that created its own dynamic. You do not have to overproduce. When you have humans involved, things are automatically going to happen. This is why I like reality TV. I know people say that this is smut TV, this is trash TV, but I like it because I love human behavior and I like to observe human behavior. If Love Island USA just did a little more of what the UK version is doing, it would be a much better season. They sent all the guys out of the villa and there were 2 new bombshells, but guess what? The women back at the villa, they got to watch the dates. Again, you don't have to overproduce something. You want to know why? Because there were going to be natural reactions to what happened. The girls were like, oh, he doesn't know how to converse. This is dry. He's not saying anything. Oh my goodness, this one is disrespectful. Oh, so he's lying about who he is in the villa, right? Like, it was just flowing. Also, what I love about the girls in Love Island UK, they tend to check each other. Now, there's still some dynamics that I see playing out, and I'm like, oh no, you don't need to be doing this, because we know Miss Jasmine, who is gorgeous, by the way. Jasmine, she has this connection with that Lorenzo. I do not like Lorenzo. And then she's like, well, he was nice to me, so I wanted to give him another chance. And I'm like, Jasmine, absolutely not. But anyway, my point is things naturally will come up and unfold. Love Island USA. Do more. Let's send these people out on dates. Let's bring in some bombshells. Let's shake some stuff up, but not overproduce it. Come on. Do better, guys. Do better. So these are just some of my thoughts. I think the show Love Island USA would do a little better if we got to see more of the actual dynamics with the Islanders overall, but also specifically with the Islanders and their couple. Let's do better challenges. Let's send them out on dates. Again, then we get to really, you're still creating a show. We're still going to get some drama. Whenever you put people in a competitive environment, because it is, you're still going to get drama. Regarding Kinsey, as I was saying before, I just don't like how she is moving. At first, initially, I'm like, Kinsey is playing the game of Love Island, right? In the sense of she's making these multiple connections and she's getting to know these 2 men. I don't see anything wrong with that. I want to make sure that part is really clear. There is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with her wanting to continue to pursue her connection with Corbin, even though she is in a couple with Caleb, because nobody is closed off. My issue with Kinsey is that she was being disrespectful toward Corbin's boundaries, and she was manipulative about it, and that secrecy adds to that manipulation. I don't like behavior like that. And I think the way Kinsey was also talking about Melanie, I'm not Melanie's biggest fan. I think there are parts of Melanie that's very likable, however, just not her biggest fan. But the way Kinsey was talking about Melanie with Soul and with Jen, I did not like. And you could tell she was trying to get them to be on her side, to like pile on Melanie. She's ruining our experience. And she's like Melanie is getting in the way of her continuing what she's doing with Corbin. No, you're upset because Corbin actually, for the first time, he showed a level of restraint and respect. And because of that, you want to pile onto Melanie? Not okay. And you take the two newest girls in the villa and you do that with. Because remember who Kinsey used to talk to before. And now who is she talking with? Jen, the other blonde. Remember what she said when Jen came in? Yeah, I was like the only blonde. AKA what? What was she really saying? And when she keeps telling Caleb, because we're so similar and we're from the same place and we know the same places. Actually, they're from two separate states. We know the same places. And, I just feel like we have a lot in common. And so I really like you. But she's showing so much more interest in Corbin. And granted, Corbin has been there a little longer than Caleb. But the interest she's showing in Corbin seems to be pretty much purely sexual. And we know that they did do some things because he was talking about DJing a little bit. I won't go into too much detail about that. And so now I think she is really full on into a particular experience, not necessarily getting to know him, but it's just very lustful. And if that's how you want to move, that's how you move. However, don't be manipulative about it. I don't like that. Let's see, Anaya and KC. I was rooting for them because to me, it could have been the story of two underdogs. Anaya wasn't chosen by Sincere, episode 1, when she stood behind his door, and we know nobody was behind KC's door. This could have been the story of two underdogs. And now the way things are being painted, there's some friction, which again, naturally can happen in a show. However, I feel like it's being painted in a particular way where Anaya is getting the nagging girlfriend or nagging islander kind of edit, because also before she was getting she's the helper, because there are so many things we can talk about. We can talk about how Black women are painted in a lot of these shows and the role that Black women tend to take on in community. Oh, man, listen, it's just a show, but when we look at certain dynamics play out, sometimes it is very representative of the society and the cultures that we live in and that we're a part of. And so Anaya went from being the villa, the counselor in the villa to the nagging islander. Why? Why are we doing that? Are we setting her up for the hero's journey, or are we setting her up to be humiliated and dumped? She got called a grandma, which I'm going to be honest, I've seen some discourse about that. I actually think, and this is what I'm saying, I think there are key things that are missing from the conversations. In an earlier episode, Anaya apparently referred to KC as grandpa. And then when KC was talking to Corbin, he referred to Anaya as grandma. When I heard that, I thought it was because they were like, yeah, as soon as she gets into bed, she's just going to sleep, right? So somebody who goes to sleep early, usually older people go to sleep early. Now, I can understand some of the annoyance and frustration with his statement because he was talking about wanting to be physical. And he's like, oh, grandma. I didn't initially take it as that. I really took it as she's going to bed early. Now, if he's talking about this from the perspective of she doesn't want to do anything with me sexually and therefore she's a grandma, because he did say that he essentially, I guess maybe, his love language, like most men, it's physical touch. And he's like, nothing is happening. And that's going to make me wander. And I'm like, don't do that. Because beloved, if you want to wander, that's your choice. Don't be saying it's because she's not being physical with you. Because, and then in another scene, Anaya was talking to maybe Melanie. Anaya was talking to one of the women. I can't remember who right now. And she was like, what you think I'm about to bust it open in front of this room full of people? She was like, that's not happening. Which good. Because don't do that on national TV. I don't care. call me a prude, call me whatever, but don't be doing that on national TV. It is being recorded. And they go through this stuff because they have to edit things. So they watching, There has to be a line. Come on now. But anyway, no tea, no shade to nobody. But Anaya was like, nah, I'm not doing that. So KC, if you want to go explore, you go do that, but don't try and twist it and throw it up in her face that, oh, I'm doing this because you're not doing this for me. Don't do that. Don't do that, especially if you all have had conversations and you all have come to a mutual understanding. Now, again, they cut out a lot of their conversations. So for the most part, we don't actually know. They cut it out, and just recently, they've been giving us bits and pieces of KC and Anaya. To be clear, I can talk all this crap. I will not vote Anaya off if that is ever an option. I know technically we don't vote people off, but I will not vote her last or anything. Why? Because she was the underdog, and you can tell that there is something about her. You can tell when they show certain clips of her, right? You can tell she's funny. In episode 10, when she was like, oh, this is my favorite show, and she was talking about the guys working out, and they went over there, her, Trinity, and Soul, and it was just a cute kiki moment, and they're like, oh yeah, we like this channel, right? And it was just cute. And so you can tell that she's likable. I think she's getting a trash edit. But they kind of did that too. And I hate to compare the seasons because I know the fans for certain people, like, they go hard, okay? So, whoa. But this does remind me of season 7. The edit that Olandria got. Remember, a lot of people were like, oh my God, like when I'd say toward the later episodes, and then when she got out of the villa and we started seeing more of her personality, and people were like, oh my God, where has she been? Like, da, 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 da. And I'm like, this girl was there the whole time. It's the edit that she got. The question becomes, why do they choose certain islanders for certain edits? Because, then there are certain islanders who will get the sweetheart edit, certain islanders who will get the villain edit. I would say pay attention to it, but maybe don't. I don't know. Maybe don't. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Casey and Anaya. What do you all think about Soul and Sincere? I don't know. There is something insincere about Sincere's connection with Soul. He's saying certain things, like he's saying these sweet things to her, but I don't feel it. I don't believe it. And honestly, I would just prefer him to go back to Melanie. Even though Melanie, I kind of do want to see what could happen with her and Corbin. But here's the thing. I don't think any of them is actually willing to explore the other. I think Sincere still wants Melanie. I think Melanie still wants Sincere. And I think Corbin desperately wants Kenzie. I think they are just so sexually drawn to each other that they cannot get enough of each other. So I really don't know what's going to happen. Here's what might happen. Soul and KC maybe they might couple up. And then hopefully USA can take a page from the UK's version and bring in somebody for Anaya. Let's see what could happen. This is what I mean by shake shit up. Drop a few more people in that villa. We're going to shake some stuff up, send them out on some dates, and then let the the villagers, and let the people in the villa, let them watch. We are going to get some natural reactions. Okay, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to stop talking. You let me know what your thoughts are about this particular season. Are you enjoying it? What changes would you make if you had the power? Do you have a favorite islander? Do you have a favorite couple? I really want to hear from you. I know I did a whole lot of rambling today because I have just been annoyed and I needed a place to express my annoyance. So if you stuck around, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really, really appreciate it. I am so glad you are here, and I hope you come on back for the next one. But until then, bye for now.